This video is for business leaders who want themselves or their employees to be more effective at their jobs by helping them be more confident. And this isn't confident in what you're automatically confident at because you've spent years developing it. Of course, you're confident at the core of your job. Well, what about the things that sit outside the core of your job or when there's novel things you need to do? This is about how to be more confident in those situations as well, not just the ones that you spent years developing your confidence from. Watch to the end of this video to get bonus insights and give you more tools as to how to apply this and expand beyond these principles. I introduce some extra ones. This is part 2 of a 2-part series of a book review from Ross Harris's excellent book, The Confidence Gap. I would recommend you go there or into the description and you can find part 1. So that's the best way to get the whole picture. What I'm going to talk about today is rules 5 to 10, but also with each rule, I have my own variant of it, which I developed separately, not for all, but for most. The first one is rule 5, hold your values lightly, but pursue them vigorously. The idea of holding them lightly, I really like. To me, this is more about mindset. My definition of mindset is that not only is there a lot of simultaneously different true things, we also have our perspective or our frame of reference over top of that. So everything we think and experience is a personal interpretation of objective reality. Given that that's the case, we may as well choose the meaning or truth or mindset that best serves us. And that's what I mean when I would talk about holding it lightly. It was like, well, maybe this isn't the best of all the possible perspectives. An example might be if you pay a lot of taxes. That's awesome, because if you paid a lot of taxes, assuming you have a competent accountant, that means you made a lot of money. Or you could just focus on having paid a lot of taxes and complain about it and forget about the $5 million you made last year. Which one serves you better, makes you more empowered, makes you more confident? I'll let you answer that for yourself. I believe this to be true, that you can choose whatever mindset, whatever perspective serves you best, as long as it's true, that is objectively true, and doesn't harm others. Now, that doesn't harm others, that is a true value, not quite what Ross talks about in the book. He defines creativity as a value. Rule 6, true success is living by your value. I completely agree with this. Values, however you define them, if you have to violate them to do your job or run your company, it's just going to take all the joy out of it and your life will suck. Rule 7 is don't obsess about the outcome, get passionate about the process. And this is tremendously wise. My version of this rule would be outcome goals are useless at creating success because we usually have zero direct control over outcome. We can't step on our customers, put a gun to their head and say, give me all your money, unless you actually do that. Beyond that, we can't control how much money we make in any year. We can only control the things we have direct control over that lead to that income. So focus on the process goals, which are completely within your control, but are directed at an outcome goal you hope to achieve by taking those actions. By passionately pursuing things, the process goals, that is, within your direct control, you can do that big picture, as in Jim Collins' big picture, not just your mission, but your purpose, your vision. You can do that your entire life until you achieve it or you die of old age trying. Rule number 8 is don't fight your fear, allow it, befriend it, and channel it. I don't entirely agree with this, but I have to admit that I haven't really tried it in the way he's talking about, except to say, I would say channel it. But the way I channel it is mostly by ignoring it. That is, okay, whether it's fear or upset, I wouldn't fight it. I would say your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. So putting your attention elsewhere while not fighting it works best. So you're not fighting it or denying it, you're just ignoring it. You're busy focusing on something you can do something about. And by doing that, your fear will go away, because if you're not focusing on it, your mind is occupied with other things, you will not have that in your mind, because fear is something that is a product of your mind. He says, for rule number 9, failure hurts, but if you're willing to learn, it's a wonderful teacher. I agree completely. I'm just a little more direct. Failure sucks, and it is an inevitable part of life. So learn from it and move on. Whining is useless. A more gentle version of that is simply that while you're learning or when learning something new, failure is inevitable and desirable, and you should be happy because it does teach you. We're essentially living, unfortunately, in what I would call an era of wimp culture, and this was brought on by the self-esteem movement, who mistakenly and backwardly thought that self-esteem caused success. It has long ago now been definitively proved within the scientific community. Roy Baumeister and others did a meta-analysis, and they found out, guess what? Success causes self-esteem. Self-esteem that's unearned causes narcissism, not success, but the reverse. So the cult of the 8th place trophies needs to go bye-bye. The badass version, as Navy SEALs say, embrace the suck. So when something sucks, embrace it and just do it anyway. The opposite of that might be embrace your inner crybaby. And there is good reason sometimes to cry. You just lost someone you love. Go ahead and cry. You have every right to do that. But to embrace and hang on to your inner crybaby is disempowering and useless, but even worse than that, is actually harmful. I personally think the ideal situation in this circumstance is to take the middle path of self-compassion. If you're fearful or upset, it's like, well, I don't like that, and maybe I don't even feel good about being fearful, but it's totally okay. That is, have self-compassion, but also have the grit to embrace the suck when it's called for. Rule 10 is the key to peak performance is total engagement in a task. I totally agree with this. This is why multitasking is nonsense. Scientifically speaking, and in terms of the quality of work or mastery you can achieve by doing multitasking, is not there. It's about fully engaging in one thing intensely is where mastery lies. Thank you very much for watching this far. We have now reached the bonus section of insight. This ties into rule 10 for what we just talked about. That is deliberate practice and flow. So flow is most closely associated with deeply engaging in peak performance, as rule 10 described, but deliberate practice is the path to peak performance. That is how to achieve a high level of skill. Flow only occurs when you are fully engaged in an activity and striving near or even slightly above your maximum ability. I've never seen the interpretation about slightly above your maximum ability because it's logically contradictory, but I will put a link right there so you can watch that video. It's actually an excellent explanation of flow. I disagree with that one point. I think it's near the top edge of your ability, not beyond the top edge. Deliberate practice, on the other hand, is when you practice a specific concrete technique or micro skill where you can get objective feedback from an expert teacher, video camera, recorder, or some other thing. You can learn from that feedback and adjust so you can improve your skill. Now, a perfect example of deliberate practice, which you almost certainly have experienced, was when you learned to ride a bike. The micro skill was not just pedaling or steering, it was keeping your balance, pedaling, but mostly keeping your balance. So that is the micro skill of the whole skill of riding a bike. You got immediate feedback, which is typically the best kind. It was objective. That means you weren't sure whether you were doing it right. You were either falling or you weren't. And with that, plus a teacher, if you had it beyond that, they gave you feedback, which you used to quickly learn to balance well enough to pedal and then increase all your other skills in your bike. That is essentially an example of deliberate practice, but I will put a video link there and in the description so you can see an excellent video narrated by the inventor of deliberate practice to get a wonderful understanding of it. It's very short, but it's actually very, very well done. If you need any help applying any of these principles that I've talked about today, you're a business leader, you want to be better, prevent problems, and create superior solutions, I can help you do that using neurocognitive leadership and design. Reach out to me through my website at crush-it-club.com, and I will be happy to help. This has been Crush It Club 208, How to Be Confident 2, The Confidence Gap, Book Summary and Review. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.